All right, welcome back to the Amazing Conspiracy Realist channel. This is your host, Bryan Cirillo, Amazing Conspiracy Realist himself. It's good to be back. So today on De-Occulted, we're talking with Marja West again. She was on the show probably 4 or 5 months ago now. We introduced her book, F Wide Open, and so I want to dive deeper into that with her a little bit, with regards to like the integration of the masculine and feminine, and what she's come up with as the 4 levels of relationship. And I think when I read this book, like that information was it helped give me a lot of clarity to like situations in my own life, and it's just now I don't feel like I'm as in the dark. And things are a little bit less scary now that I have a map and stuff like that, a roadmap to relationships, I guess you could say. But welcome back to the show, Marja. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Bryan. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, so you've been doing a lot lately. Of course, like cranking out like all your videos on your channel, like almost like one every day. There's always some type of wisdom that you're throwing out there.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in my, I'm in my domain, I'm in my lane. It's all I can do to keep out of trouble. And it just seems like the more focused I am staying in my lane, the less trouble I'm in. And I just don't get involved in the stupid shit shows of the Matrix. It's a waste of time for me. So I just don't push up against that shit anymore.
Right. And I've certainly learned to follow your lead in that. Before I met you, I was definitely like, and even, after we met, I was still working through that and like, pushing up against it and like really getting worked up over what this person's thinking and the form of mind control that they're under and like what is it going to take to shake them out of it, like and what kind of misconceptions do people have about me, and and I still sometimes get caught up in that, but now I catch it. Now I could just like catch it and just wake myself up again and just be like, okay,
isn't that just the best to just do it, because that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
Right.
The moment you start getting involved in what you think other people are doing, your attention is hijacked by them. Or it's hijacked by some kind of wounding that is like beckoning for your attention to be healed. And, it's great. It's great that you're getting this whole, process of continually doing the great work and continually catching yourself snoozing, because people think that once you're woke, it's a one-off event. It's not. We are constantly snoozing. There's way too much distraction out in the world, out in our day-to-day that will captivate our attention and get our attention, trigger us, upset us, get us tripping in our heads. And the moment that shit happens, you're sound asleep. You're a walking zombie. I got to do it all the time. And I fucking laugh at myself, because I think, oh no, I'm just completely sound asleep.
Yeah. And it's sometimes I think the biggest trigger for me is when someone says something that's completely out of line, out of context, and they're supposed, So I'll give an example real quick before we really dive into the subject for tonight's episode. I have certain friends who they might say something that really takes me back, like, and I'm just like, and I'm kind of just shocked, like that they would actually even say that. But I know this guy is not going to watch it, even if he does, it's not a big deal. But I was hanging out with some friends at like a local club the other night, and I was being sassy and just the way I am and everything.
I love that about you.
I had my makeup on, I had my nails all done up crazy, and my friend turns to me and he goes, and we're sitting at the bar waiting to get a drink, and he's like, You know, man, sometimes I wish I had a straight wingman, like a straight guy for a wingman and not a bisexual guy. And I
Oh,
was just like,
brother.
I was like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, so like, am I scaring people away? It's like, oh man, you take things too personally. You take things too personally. Like, what that just came out of left field, and that was like,
Yeah.
kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, man. Like, you know, so and then it's just like, oh, never mind. You're cool. You're fine. Just be yourself, you know, because once he sees I was upset. At first, he was just like, but yeah, I mean, it's those types of comments that people will say about you and your, you know, your personal choices or whatever it is, you know, something that's just way out of line. And you'll get preoccupied on that. But and see, that's where I used to slip up, is like I would get, someone would say something like that and I would be on that subject for days and days and like,
oh dude,
over it.
I still do this. There's certain subjects in my life where, you know, and one of the things is being shushed or not being able to complete my sentence, or having somebody just either cut me off or dismiss what I have to say. And so it's been practice for me, but the moment it happens, I immediately catch myself. I'm falling back into the past of my own mother just shutting me down, totally shutting me down. So I know what those triggers are. And still to this day, when I catch myself and I'm spiraling down because I'm bummed out, I'm not heard, nobody wants to listen. I mean, there's a whole cascade of these one-liners that come up. And now I just fucking laugh. I'm like going, okay, keep going. Let me know when you're done. And sometimes what I have to do, especially because I know that one, where you sit there and, like, for myself, I'll get butt hurt and I will ruminate over it. And just as you were describing, where you're just kind of like fucking on that thing, I can see the power it has, where, you know, years ago, it would floor me. It would ruin like maybe my next week or the next few days, or get me into some spiral where I'm filled with self-doubt, or I'm guilting myself, or I'm shaming myself. It becomes an outlet for some kind of self-abuse.
Right.
You know, or poor me. So there's the self-abuse, and then there's the sort of inner victim that gets activated every now and again. But now I recognize it. It's like, oh God, here we go. It's a drama. So I start, you know, this is one of the things I do. I'm like, okay, I'm playing the violin badly right now. Okay. But you have to be compassionate with yourself and see it. You know, I utilize these triggers as, you know, touchstones to wake up. It's like, okay, girl, snap out of it. This is not helpful, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, when people say these things that trigger us, it's like a lot of times it's more about them than it's about you. And it's like,
absolutely.
What pisses me off is that, like, I see for their jealousy and their lack and their like need to like, you know, kind of one up me or knock me down a peg or two, just because they, like, I realize now that it wasn't, it's not, because like they'll try to make it seem like, well, I'm trying to help you and give you the unsolicited advice you so desperately need from me, but it's really just about making sure that, you know, they're at like a slightly higher level in their mind than you.
And that's very toxic masculine one-upsmanship. You know, it's that competitive thing. And you know, and women do it to each other. So, you know, that toxic masculine, masculinity, or the divine masculine, it's not a man or a woman. It is it's energy that's being projected out. Okay. Whereas the feminine principle is the magnetic principle. It's being, it's coming back to you. All right. So it's really drawing in energy. So when people do that one-upsmanship and, you know, I get into a pissing match or some kind of thing like that, it's usually, you know, this whole thing of like really trying to build yourself up, at least energetically, so that you can, a lot of the times it's a default for feeling very much insecure, for feeling ill at ease in the body. Now, you have a very awesome presentation because you're audacious. And that quality, not a lot of people have that quality to be able to, you know, dress the way you want, express yourself, use colors, use costume, use makeup. That's intimidating for a lot of people. And so that could trigger a lot of self-doubt, a lot of envy, a lot of, you know, I used to get, who the hell do you think you are? And I'm just like, yeah, man, I am that bitch. So fuck off, you know? And so I used to get really just offended, and then I would get self-righteous, or I'd be like in people's faces. And then I realized, you know, I don't need to do that. And the more aligned you get, and the more okay and self-accepting you get, you're not going to give a shit. You know, you're not going to care. You're not going to care about defending a position. And you're also not going to care about whether people like you or not. But it's still a shock. And I had an interesting interaction last week. So I got invited to teach yoga via Zoom, just very, very simple yoga, to a quote unquote, and the hostess, she coined it. It's a geriatric beginning yoga. All right. So these women are, they're survivors of domestic abuse, and they're of a certain age group. So between 50 and like 85, the oldest person was 85. So here I am. The hostess is like thinking, I would be the perfect person since I'm vibrant, I have a lot of energy. I'm also 62. And I was floored because I was kind of looking forward to it. I'm like going, oh yeah, that's going to be cool. And the timing was perfect. It was easy. I had a really easy setup in my dining room. I had the camera already, blah, 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 blah. And so here we are, we get started. And I can see the fucking shit like going off. And it was shocking because you could see these sort of bitchy kind of like, these are unhappy ladies, dare I say. And I have a lot of compassion for my sisters. But when I'm looking at the chat and they're being fucking catty contessas, like, ain't no way this one is, you know, 60, blah, 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 blah. She's had an easy life. I mean, these women are making false assumptions about who I am based on how they think I look. And they are dismissing my offering. They're dismissing the medicine because, you know, rather than seeing me as an inspiration, or perhaps, you know, I say, you spot it, you got it. You see something you like in me. Okay, maybe that is an aspect in you that you need to embody, or you see something you don't like in me, maybe that shit is embedded in you and you need to take a look at it. So it was really disturbing, and I was butthurt. I didn't even get to finish because they were not having it. Instead, it became this sort of discussion, not about yoga, but the discussion about women against women. And the sort of one-upsmanship that some women have when they get competitive, or they feel thwarted by another woman, or they're envious, or they're jealous, or they're resentful, or they resent themselves. And it was fucking heavy, man. I was exhausted, totally exhausted. So yeah.
That's an incredible story. And thanks for sharing it. Like, see, what I was thinking is just like, how unconscious do these people have to be to not even have a click in their own brains that they're being, making assumptions about someone they don't even know based on how they look, or, it's all based in jealousy, but because they don't think that you're the age that you're at because you actually take care of yourself. Like, it's just like, instead of, they could turn it around and being like, oh, wow, like she's awesome. Like, she's amazing. I wonder, maybe I should ask her like what she's doing, to, stay that fit or whatever it may be. But instead they have to go for the lower vibration, like resentment and like, it's just, they must feel a real like emptiness and lack, within themselves. And, I get that with musicians too, who don't write their own music, who are just like, pulling up a bunch of like ZZ Top tabs and like trying to learn it. And like, it's just like, they don't actually create anything, or like I was saying the other day, the gear heads who just get a bunch of gear and then they try to figure out how to use it for the rest of their life. All the while, I have a regular guitar, regular amp. It's nothing special, nothing too expensive. I plug it in and it's all about creation after that,
It's plug and play. You just, you plug it in and you go do it. Yeah.
Right. And so people get jealous and butter because they say, well, I spent all this money and time and he's up on stage and he's getting recognition for what he's doing. And he doesn't spend as much money on his equipment, or, he doesn't have as good of taste in music as me.
Oh my God.
The list goes on.
You think they would want to learn from that? And that's the whole thing too, is that, when you're talking about relationships, the first and foremost relationship is going to be with yourself. It's going to be with yourself in terms of your internal masculine and your internal feminine. Now, as a woman, I have more touchstones about feminine energy because I'm in a female body. All right. It doesn't mean, however, that I don't know what it's like to run masculine energy, because I'm a doer. Shit happens in my life because I know how to be very directional. I go from point A to point B. I know how to make shit happen if I have to. I also know how to dial it down, shut the fuck up, be in listening mode, be in the reception mode, which is the feminine principle. And so a lot of men are better at that. I know a lot of men who are better at being in the feminine mode than I am. And most of these men are straight. I mean, how they do it, I'm just like, so I'm learning. My partner is very, very masculine, and he's much better at being in his feminine than I am. I'm learning how to do that, to be in that receptive mode, and to not to feel like I have to do a tit for tat thing to earn my keep, to be deserving to receive love.
Right.
I mean, it's a wacky, ongoing immersion and an ongoing evolution, in my life, the category of love relationships, of friendships, learning how to forge friendships with women, because my biggest wounding is with women, not the men.
Right.
And so that's like a huge thing. So for me, my inner work has really been about becoming friendly with my feminine nature, my vulnerability, also becoming friendly with the masculine within, who's just the doer, my inner man doing. And, sometimes I get really pissy and I emasculate him. It's not cool. It's not cool to get on your inner masculine's case, especially when the feminine can't focus, because, the feminine is whirly twirly. It's very chaotic. It's not directional. It's all over the map. It's changeable, and at the same time, that's one of the like really cool things about feminine energy, whether you're a man or a woman. You just change it up, be creative, explore things,
Sure. And the same thing can happen vice versa. Like, it's like I've seen a lot of women being able to embody masculine energy almost like better than me in a sense, like with the constant doing and planning and just strategic stuff, and so that's something that I need to work on sometimes too. And like when things go, like instead of staying calm, like if I have a technical issue back here or something, instead of staying calm, a lot of the times my feminine will just be going crazy, like cursing out the computer and just like like what, like like just like trying to get into it with the computer, like overly emotional response, like and that's when, and I think things start to get even more messed up when I'm just like rabidly like just like trying to make things work. Like the more I try to make it work, again, I'm pushing up against the matrix of trying to make it work.
Yes.
So then of course, like I'm just like I'm doing silly things and not even thinking straight. Like I can't even think of an example, but I'm like X'd out of this thing, or I blew up this thing too much over here, and like I'm just, because I'm not focused, I'm just like getting really angry at that. Especially before, like a lot of times before something really exciting is supposed to happen is when my inner feminine freaks out. Like, but like just now when I was getting set up, I'm just like, all right, I gotta get this set up, I gotta find this charger, and I was just like, and I was kind of like being a little bit nuts. And then the other day I was going to a concert with my friends, and of course, it's supposed to be fun, but it's just like, of course, we're freaking out like about the directions, and and I'm just kind of like, I was just had this nervous, tense energy, just because I wanted everything to go off without a hitch. And so like any little hiccup was just like, like, so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and that is the clash of the masculine feminine, because, the feminine sort of chaotic nature, I mean, that's fucking art, man. It's totally, totally art. Mm-hmm. And then the masculine wants to get in there and just like, whoa, they're Missy, rein it in and be, and, it's like there's a time and place for all of that. And I know that when I get chaotic and I start whirling and twirling, the opposite of that chaotic whirling, twirling of the changeable feminine is the masculine, not the doing, but the ability for the masculine, whether you're a man or a woman, to be steadfast and anchored in active stillness, in addition to tuning in with reining in the feminine, in allowing the feminine to step back and listen to receive the guidance. So there's two things going on there. There's the active masculine, active stillness, and the active feminine in receptive mode. Asking the question, what next? How does this get resolved? Okay. And to be able to listen for the answer and receive it.
Yeah. And the way you said, like, how does this get resolved is that's like the masculine kind of question, would you say?
I think so. And it's also too, I think it's a culmination, because, the feminine is really in charge of the sort of what it is that she wants.
Right.
And that's where the clarity is, so that the masculine can actually take action and make it so. So that interchange of the masculine and feminine within, you got to have the dialogue internally.
Right.
Because in the matrix, the gender divide with all the different fucking pronouns, it's like, oh my God, stop it. And then they want to weaponize it all against each other and be offended. And people can't see. You can't see this is a ruse, kids, to get us.
I don't even know how they can't see it anymore. I don't know, but what you brought up just now about the inner dialogue, it actually made me think of another thing that happened that I overheard someone say the other day when I was out. This guy was talking to, I was just like, I met these people, we just had a brief conversation about music or whatever. But then this girl was talking to her friend about her problems and whatnot. And he turns to her and says, let me give you some really good advice. The worst thing you could ever do is be alone with your own thoughts. So don't ever be alone with your own thoughts ever, and you'll be fine.
Oh boy.
And I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, like, shadow work, inner dialogue, integration of the masculine and feminine, just throw it out the window and just immerse yourself in the collective. That's the answer.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I was like, this is why the world is not.
Yeah, that's
getting
pop
out of
culture.
the
That's
show.
pop culture.
Yeah.
It's just like, let's just hand over our inner authority to this mass consciousness shit show that leaves everybody enslaved forever and ever and ever and ever. I mean, you talk about, yeah, it's like, oh God, yikes. And
Right.
people buy it.
All right. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because they want
Definitely.
to belong. You know, it's better to be part of the mob than have to think for yourself. Holy shit, you know.
Yep. FOMO, fear of missing out. That's the thing.
Right. Exactly.
They call it.
Exactly.
So just getting into relationships and just where, like, because I wanted to talk about the heart-based humanity and like jumping into divine, like we're going to go over the different relationships types, but what I'll say is that I think that everyone craves a real wholesome relationship with like another person, with another whole person. They crave a certain type of love, but then, you know, we end up with something that's way downgraded. And so I think the video that you shared with me the other day called How to End a First Date exemplified what, because like if you're craving real love, genuine connection with another person, what you're gonna stumble into, you might stumble into the polar opposite of that, you know, so you can learn about it. And so, but that video exemplifies like kind of where people are at, I think, when you get into like I guess it's like the second level relationship, which we're going to go over. Maybe I'll just briefly just say what the four types are. Like you have survival, power. What is it? Level 1 is survival. Level 2 is power, role playing. Level 3 is neo-equality, personal power and freedom. And then level 4 is the one that everyone's secretly, or like subconsciously craving or consciously craving, is the divine love. But like, so the power, role playing, and the one-upmanship is in this clip that I'm going to try to like show this clip.
Oh my God, a fucking thing. Yeah. It's just, it makes me roar every time.